Where does my soul go after I die? Khemetic spirituality specifically, and African spirituality in general, are systems that provide a foundation for mental freedom and spiritual expansion. In this video, I'll address the question of where do we go when we die from the African spiritual perspective and contrast it from the Christian religious perspective. In prehistoric Kemet, they didn't even have a word for death. Their orientation wasn't the physical body, but a soul that existed eternally. They called it westing, as in the soul or sun setting in the west, but knowing it will rise again. It was a different paradigm than our modern way of thinking. Most people believe on some level that we're on earth by happenstance. We're born, then we die. If you've ever been Christian, you're born to serve the male psychotic God in some capacity who gives you the free will to choose what you want to do, but will punish you through eternal damnation if the choice is not what he decided for you. Ultimately, that's not free will. It's Russian roulette. If you're lucky, you choose right. If you're not, well, you will pay. There's a growing body of knowledge that trained hypnotherapists are doing through past life regression. Many of them are corroborating the stories of life between lives of thousands of individual cases. The similarities of stories from people of different cultures, religions, and races is astounding. Here's what you need to understand. You're an energetic being. Energy exists forever and can never be destroyed or created. It can only change forms. That's the first law of thermodynamics. The ancient Africans were saying the same exact thing as science, but using terminology that we worshipped or had a high level of reverence for through religious conditioning and upbringing. The ancient Egyptians stated that in the beginning is spirit and in the end is spirit. If we put this same idea in modern terms, we would say in the beginning is energy and in the end is energy. In the ancient teachings of the Egyptians, anything that is physically born is destined to die. That which enters and animates the physical body at birth and emerges from the physical body after death is the only thing that can live eternally. That would be the metaphysical aspect of yourself called the soul in modern spiritual vernacular, the light body. The ancient Greeks encoded esoteric language in the biblical Gospels. If you look at the Bible as a book of stories, then the main character is the soul. It's actually the soul that euphemistically dies on the cross in the Bible, not a historical Jesus. At different stages, the Khemetic cosmology called the soul Osiris or Horus. The soul is not born according to the Egyptian teachers of the ancient Greeks. It's eternal. But when it descends to earth, it loses the multidimensional awareness it had in the metaphysical world in order to animate the physical body. The reason for the soul lowering itself into the physical world is analogous to a game for the souls. The souls within mankind, or the Osiris, as the Egyptians called it, has the job to raise the level of consciousness of the lower Ka, or egoic physical being, to connecting to its higher Ka. From the elevated state, the lower Ka taps into the knowledge of the higher Ka and is no longer swayed by its fears. This was the original concept of transubstantiation. It meant to transmute or change energy into a positive elevated state called the Christ. From the ancient African perspective, the question would be asked, did the soul complete its task or soul contract? A soul contract is the goal you would agree to fulfill as a soul while in the physical world. If it did, then the soul would graduate to reincarnate to another body, another soul contract, and another lesson. If it didn't complete its soul contract, then it would reincarnate into another body but work on the same lesson with a slightly different twist. Maybe the last body was a black male living in the inner city. The next body might be a white female living in the suburbs, but the lesson or theme would be the same. The life theme will be repeated until the soul gains the wisdom to not be swayed by fears or other negative emotions. If you do some research, you'll find that the Christian doctrine of eternal hell was really pushed forward by one Christian father. Have you ever wondered where the idea of hell came from? Biblical scholars know the doctrine is not even biblical. For the first 5 centuries of Christianity, there was no teachings or belief in an eternal hell. It It was the Christian father, St. Augustine, who didn't speak or understand Greek very well, that butchered the translations of the original New Testament and came up with the idea of an eternal hell. It's pretty well documented that a lot of the early Christian fathers were not the sharpest tools in the shed. They came up with some spiritually dumb ideas that modern Christians accept on faith without question. In other words, modern Christian faith is acceptance and belief in someone else's spiritual experience from 2,000 years ago. And many of them from 2,000 years ago were philosophical and spiritual dummies. Because of St. Augustine, the church began the teachings about an eternal hell and then solidified them by conveniently incorporating aspects of Dante Alighieri's poem, The Inferno. But the truth is, there is no basis that hell is founded on except the belief of a not-so-smart church father that misinterpreted Greek manuscripts. So where do you go when you die? That depends, but never to hell. As a soul, you could actually end up in some place other than earth. Now stick that in your pipe and smoke it. The ancient Africans would say that as a soul, you'll not burn forever. You get to learn forever. Now, if this video has been beneficial for you and you would like the opportunity to learn more about soul contracts and more, then head over to my site at www.beyondthephysical.me and get more information about my class. It's beginner-friendly Khemetic Spirituality. You can also check out my blog and e-courses at www.khemeticcenteredliving.com. Thank you for watching. Please like the video, share it to those that it may benefit, and subscribe to my channel. Peace.